Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever we might find you at this moment. And thank you for joining today's webinar, Remove Booking Barriers with Blended Rates, How True Availability Can Reduce Booking Abandonment. This is Jason MENACE. I am the head of marketing here at SHR, and I will be your host. SHR, for those of you who aren't familiar with us, we are the developer of the robust reservation system Windsurfer and the shopping cart experience booking engine Topsail. We keep thousands of independent hotels competitive in 68 countries, and we're now in Singapore. But enough about us. Let's meet today's guests. First up, Estella Hale, SHR's VP of Product. Estella heads up SHR's product management efforts and has been in the industry for 16 plus years. Windsurfer is the second CRS she's helped develop. She was born in Mexico City, I believe, right? Moved here for school, went to work in hotels, met your husband in hotels.
I did, yes. So
Which doesn't sound right, does it? Met your husband while working in a hotel,
yeah.
If I got that correct, right? 3 beautiful children, and now you're all ours. Welcome, Estella.
Thank you, and welcome, everyone.
Our next guest hails from sunny London, England, Tanya Hadwick, the Director of Revenue Europe for Millennium Hotels and Resorts. I was looking back over Tanya's career, and she is the quintessential revenue management expert, holding roles as Director of Revenue for Millennium Hotels, Europe, London, Seoul, and Jordan, with a short stint as Director of Revenue for Beach Rotana and IHG's Holiday Inn Parkview in Singapore. A graduate of the University of Central Lancashire. Tanya has a degree in Hospitality Administration Management. And by all accounts, it would appear, Tanya, that your childhood dream job was to be a revenue manager. Or maybe you were born in a hotel.
No, I don't think they actually had revenue management when I started in this industry. It's quite new compared to how old I am.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome, and thank you both for taking time out today. As we go along the call, we'll have a Q&A session towards the end of the call, but the audience has a Q&A panel, and feel free to use that as we go along, and we'll address as many as we can at the end. So, before we get started, I'd like to ask our audience, our guests, let's start over. Let's just jump right into it. So, Estella, let's talk about the old and outdated booking engines. Where did this all begin?
Well, the way that booking engines started, it was a simple order form with very low functionality, but they really, truly, Jason, have had a tremendous evolution since their original creation. So this was something where we went from simply give me information, sometimes even via email I would respond to you, to creating something that was truly responding to the guest needs. So to the credit to the hoteliers and to the technology providers, that we have had tremendous efforts in a way that we keep connected to today's traveler. So, we have seen a lot of advancement on the user interface side. We have adapted to how that connected traveler today uses applications such as retail. We have now complex forms that have various booking functions. We take into consideration the different platforms, and we see designs from responsive to adaptive to cross-context, etc. So really, that we have come a long way from where we started. However, again, as I was mentioning, much of this advancement has been on the user interface side, which is great. We create this concept of this look and feel from the hotel's website to the internet booking experience, that we create the pathways or the paradigm that follows that retail site shopping experience, because we know our connected traveler interacts with them every day. Again, as I was mentioning, we have either adaptive or responsive, that it's either mobile friendly or that it's either cross-device, where you can start in one device and continue on another. So really a lot of advancement on the user interface side, and it's geared towards creating that conversion. We also have made great progress in recognizing the attributes that are relevant to the guest. We have learned to look at those availability requests, those availability responses. Where are they coming from? Again, which device, or with which lead time or booking window. Even to the point of recognizing the concept of what we knew for years as the walk-in, and how that has now transformed as more of a mobile booking that is still somewhat of a walk-in, but people are coming in and have an availability request and an availability response. So much more informed guest, much richer content, and again, customized on the UI to fit that need. But there are some paradigms that do not change. In order to provide that content back, we place a light burden on the guest. We need to know when they're traveling. We need to know occupancy, that then could determine room. And many times we also know the rate. So again, that sweet spot of knowing the desired itinerary allows us to give back that great experience of price and availability, that great experience on that availability response. And that's great. And that paradigm has not changed. It has not shifted from the very first iterations of internet booking experience, where even though it took multiple steps, even though much of it has been simplified with the UI, that paradigm, or many times we know it as the widget, has not changed. Give me this. It's a light burden. You have it. Give it to me so I can respond to you. After all, it is, again, a light burden. Is how we work. It is how we price and forecast. It is how we load values. It is how we accept recommended decisions. So this is, again, something that we feel it is okay to ask for the guests, since they will know much of this information, and this is the world that we work on.
So Tanya, so it's just,
yeah.
I mean, so this has all been your experience too, right? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. If the customer doesn't give us the dates, it's all very well, to say, oh, I'd like to come sometime in August, but we also need to know a little bit more. Well, when do you want to come in August? Is there something happening? And this is where the yielding of rooms plays a little bit of an importance, because obviously, if we have all guests who just say, well, I'd quite like to come in that time, we would not be able to tell them whether we actually really have availability. So I think that it's never going to go away. The customer's always going to have to give us dates and number of people. But I think that, as you'll see as we move forward, we don't necessarily ask them for rates. We don't need that. We need that internally. The customer needs to just give us the dates that they want to come, and effectively how many people, so that we can then try and do the hard work for them.
Absolutely correct. I agree with that. We as hoteliers interject this third wheel, if you will, of the rate being part of the availability. We do this when we are doing effective distribution management, when we are creating promotions and marketing them, when we are sending communications to guests that have stayed before or target a particular customer, when we give links to a negotiated promotional rate or something that has certain attributes that must be present in order for us to give that response.
And in a way, we've become quite confusing for the customer with all of this. So I think that's one of the challenges that we've had in the past.
Absolutely correct. And what this creates is this side effect that your true availability may be hidden. It could be that somebody got to your internet booking experience via a link or a promo code or something that you gave them, or even just, again, by just giving you the dates and occupancy, which that will not go away, or unless they started to look for lowest dates, but still, there is some component of dates and occupancy. And then when we start presenting them with options, we're introducing the concept of the rate. Then for whatever reason they say, oh, but I am coming with another person, or oh, I actually need another day. And all of a sudden what they had selected goes away. So we create this hide and seek game for the guest. Now, what we do is we soften that by creating these user messages, really, error messages, and that burden that was initially lighter starts becoming heavier. We now, by placing these messages and telling them, well, the promo code that we gave you is not available for those dates, or the combination of room rate date that you have selected, now that you have changed your occupancy or added a date, is not available. So that acceptable light burden starts becoming heavier, and we so far have been okay with that.
So this is probably a good time to ask our audience a question. So if our audience wouldn't mind helping Stella and Tanya understand where you're coming from a little better, how would you rate your current booking engines? How would you rate it? What do we got? Hopeless, pretty bad, average, pretty good, or awesome? And while we wait on that, we can go to the next slide while we wait on those figures, which we'll get at any moment. So the solution, do we have figures yet? What are we looking at? So about 53% average, 20% pretty good, and 27% say awesome.
That's great.
That is good. So let's talk about the solution.
Okay. So again, we were just to recap, we were talking about how we have done great advancements on the UI, how we have created certain constraints to the guest, which are perfectly acceptable in a light burden, and then how that starts becoming heavier the deeper they go. So when we looked at this, and when we looked at it both from a user and a hotelier perspective, the solution that we are proposing is that this can be solved with blended rates. So the concept or the idea behind blending a rate is to give control to properties to have an existing rate that, again, it can be something that they are promoting, it can be something that they're giving a link out to, it can be something that where they're reviewing their reports, they're seeing that they're giving a lot of those user messages that say your rate is not available because of whatever. You're not meeting a minimum length of stay. You're not booking enough in advance. It's not available on the weekend, whatever that is. Again, it goes tightly coupled with that revenue management. But the concept is to have a master rate that is then blended or linked to a couple of other rates that are generally available, filling the gap for the guest. So when the guest goes and does that availability search, either through a direct link, through a promo, or by going down the path of your internet booking experience where they've entered rates, they've entered dates, desired occupancy, and we've responded with rates, when they choose something, they are already down the path of that shopping. So at one point, if in this example, let's say that they're looking at the master rate, which is rate A, that is available 25th and 27th. If that rate is not, they all of a sudden now extended their stay or clicked on a link for a 4-night stay, we use 2 other rates that are available, and that could be your general available rate, rates that are commonly known as bar, just any other rate that, again, is generally available within, but it has a different value. But we take the burden for the guest, we lift that, and instead of placing it on them with a user message, we take that and we bring an availability response to the guest. Granted, that rate will most likely be higher, for example, if it's a promo on the dates that promo is not available, but we're not responding with a message that what they're looking for is not available, because remember, what we're talking about today is true availability. Your property is available, just might be available at a different rate those days.
It's also a way for you to get a unique special USP, unique selling point for you versus the OTAs in most cases. I mean, most of us work with a lot of the different TPIs, and one of the things that we all do is we all give all of our products to everybody. The difference with the blended rate is we can actually take our different products and let the system work for us. So in the past, if we had 2 advanced purchase rates and the guest said, oh, I want to stay on 12 days out, 13 days and 14 days, but I had an advanced purchase of 7 days and an advanced purchase of 14, they wouldn't actually get to see the 14-day. They'd only get to have the advanced purchase 7 days. Whereas this way, if they're entitled or if they could get a better rate, we're absolutely offering it. So this really makes us able to show people the true lowest rate. We do all the guesswork for them. We will troll through everything we possibly have and make sure that we can give them the best deal that they can ever get. And that's, I think, one of the biggest advantages that the blended rate is going to give us as hoteliers. We have a sale. The sale is only for certain days. But we don't want to stop people from staying longer. We want them to continue to stay. So again, at all times, we are able to sit there and truly say to the customer, we can do all of the work for you. You tell us the dates, and we'll do everything. We don't need to show you 20 different promotions for you to have to pick through and decide which one's the best for you. We're going to do that for you. And I think that that's probably going to be one of the biggest enhancements of the blended rates moving forward. It works well for us, I have to say.
Good.
Great.
All right, what's next?
So, of course, with anything related to booking experience, you know, we have to take into consideration that user interface. So the fact that you can operationally blend rates should be invisible and seamless to the guest. So their customer journey should not change.
And doesn't change.
And it doesn't change. Yes, you're absolutely right, Tanya. That we need to take that hard work on our side, and we need to simply give the viewership of that itinerary to continue to show the desired selection. As Tanya said, we're not going to discourage someone from staying longer simply because that particular promotion is not available. We take that, we blend it, and we show it to the guest as their desired selection, continuing with that customer journey.
Happiness.
Happiness. So removing not necessarily the full barrier, because again, in order to provide relevant content, we need some information from the guest that they're happy to give us. But when we decouple that availability response when we're introducing that factor of that one particular rate, search, link, marketed promo, et cetera, whatever applies to you. Again, look at your messages. See how many times you're responding to a guest that something is not available because of X, Y, and Z. By looking at that, of course, it requires that distribution management strategy, but you can then see how you can couple your rates and create a healthy response that reflects your true availability.
And let's be honest, we also use it very practically to try and drive people to come and book directly with us. The technology is there for us to be able to blend all of the different promotional rates and rate codes that we have. The master blend, as we saw, is a mixture of 3, but you can actually have more than one. So it works out very well that you can sit there and say, right, I have all these different things, but I want the guest to get the best choice, and I want the guest to believe that they will get the best choice from me. If we work it through what the difference is, that we can actually tell them that they are absolutely guaranteed. And with best rate guarantees coming up more and more on websites, it is one true way of actually being able to say, we have the technology to make your life easier, and we're going to use it for your benefit.
I completely agree, and the purpose of technology should be to bring a solution to an operational problem, and that's a good point, Tanya. Thank you for reminding me that I should make a reference that this is available for the hotel's booking experience, or our clients' internet booking experience and call center. So this does not go to other channels.
Good. So before we go to questions, so let me remind everybody, please give us some questions. We have a couple, but use your Q&A panel there to submit a question. But so before we get to the questions, I mean, any final thoughts, Tanya, on your journey through leveraging blended rates?
We started using blended rates in March last year, so we've almost been a year now. We started off very basically, sitting there saying, okay, well, what could we look at, and which ones should we blend? And I think what we found was that the expertise of SHR to sit there and say, okay, well, if you blend this one with this one and this, or you don't need to blend that one, helped us get through there much quicker. I think that one of the things it did do, as I said, is it did give us a little bit of an edge. We were able to sit there and promote it and say to people, look, we do the hard work for you. We do everything that you need us to do. You tell us the dates. We'll go through everything we've got and find you the best deal. You don't need to shop around. You don't need to go from our website to another website. You don't need to go through a lot of different promotions on our website to see which one's going to be the best for you. And I think that from a customer's perspective, it's something that they truly do appreciate. I'm just surprised more haven't started doing it, if I'm honest.
Right. Well, thank you. Okay.
Okay, we have a question from the audience. How can guests see the value of the lowest price if they don't see higher rates to compare them to when the rates are returned? Well, they actually...
Shall I answer?
Yeah. It is something that you return to them as your blended rate is going to be something that appears lower. However, there might be other rates that are available as well. You'll
always have a flexible rate, or your best available rate, whatever your terminology that people are using. So your bar rate, if you're using ideas and these things. So the customer will always see the rate that they can get. That is because how we use blended rates is we use them for our fenced and discounted rates. So things that are derived from our bar. So we will always have our flexible rate on the system saying if you don't know when you're traveling and you don't want to commit and you don't want to pay and you don't want to have to pay a deposit or you don't want to have a cancellation charge or anything, this is the rate that's available for you. And then we have our lowest rate, which is basically, you know what, if you're happy to lose a bit of flexibility, we're going to give you a better rate, but you're going to give us something in return. So typically our lowest rate is a fenced rate, so it's a prepayment or it's a non-cancelable, non-changeable. So you'll always see the two together. And likewise, you'll sometimes see other promotional rates on the website, which will be for, perhaps there'll be a promotion for suites where you're giving all of value added promotion to it. So it's not cheaper, but it has got a lot of different values to make a guest want to buy it. So I think that the lowest rate or the blended rate is always going to be, they're going to have comparisons. They're always going to be able to see something else. But what they're not going to see is, oh, should I go for the advanced purchase 7 days or the advanced purchase 14 days, or should I go for a minimum length of stay requirement, or should I go for this one that's at the weekend? And also, what if I want to come for the weekend, but I don't want to just stay this Friday, Saturday? I want to stay Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Why can't I get the weekend rate on the Friday, Saturday when it's available just because I'm coming in a day earlier? I think we also have to remember that we want people to extend their stays if possible, and we don't want to have them thinking, oh, well, I can only go and have that weekend rate if I'm only going to stay the Friday, Saturday. And I think that's what the blended rate's always going to do for you that's different.
I agree completely.
So we have another question. When the reservation syncs into the PMS, does it display the appropriate rate codes per night per rate?
That's a great question. Okay, so let me decouple that a little bit. On the CRS, it will always be decoupled. You are going to have one reservation record, but then you are going to have the appropriate rate code for each night of the stay, both on the reservation record, on your reports, on your CRS report, so reporting revenue according to each rate code, that will show there as well. On the PMS, it depends on the integration. We have over 30 plus PMS integrations, and there are some that do not support the concept of multiple rate codes within one stay. So it will come in as your main rate code with the differentiator of the values. But there are other PMSs that do allow multiple rate codes within one reservation record, and in that case, it travels exactly like that. So you will have one reservation record, the rate code that is assigned and appropriate to each day. And then I'm going to build a little bit into that as well and talk about policies. So policies in on the operational side is something that we many times assign by season, by hotel, but many times we also assign it by rate. So as Tanya was mentioning, you might have a very flexible non-fenced rate that has a looser policy and a blended promo that might have a prepayment or a non-cancelable type of policy. So hotels are able to control this by sorting those policies and giving the highest priority to the one that will apply to the booking. So again, typically it's operational 100%, but in our experience, what we've typically seen is when it is a promotional, they will choose the more restrictive policy because they are bringing a better value. And again, they might have some days where the rate is a little bit higher because it's using a general available rate, but the policy for the entire reservation will be that of the promotional rate or whatever is the master blend rate.
Yeah, so it does mean that sometimes if there's nothing else available other than, for example, your flexible rate, you'll see that the lowest rate is there, but it's still fenced, and your best available rate, your flexible rate is showing as fully flexible.
Very
But
good.
it's very rare for you to see that. I mean, typically, And I will say one thing, that typically one of the biggest benefits you get is when somebody's looking for multiple lengths of stay bookings. So if they're looking for 2 nights or more, is when you'll typically find that you'll get even better deals with the blended rates than you'll find from just using one particular rate code.
Fantastic. Oh, yeah, one more question. Let's see. Okay, this is to Tanya. Since using it in March, have you seen higher conversion and less abandonment?
Yes, we have. I don't know if that's just because we got a new website as well at the same time. We combined moving on to lowest rate at the same time as we changed our website because we wanted to make the website a lot more user friendly. And but I do think that the fact that we use the lowest rate and the blend is actually stopping people from leaving our website and going to one of our OTAs to book. We find a lot of people who call and say, oh, we found this rate and we found this rate on Expedia and we found this rate on your website. Why is it different? Well, it's different because we blend.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily for us, because if an OTA doesn't have the technology to do so, they can't hold us accountable for the fact that they don't have the same, because we're using exactly the same rate codes as we give to them. We just have an ability to give the guest a little bit of a better deal. And I think that the customers are starting to get used to this now, and therefore they're going on and we're getting more and more people who are booking the lowest rate, whereas before we'd have somebody who maybe booked an advanced purchase and then came back and said, oh no, I don't want that anymore because I've seen if I do this and 2 reservations, I can get a better deal. So we don't have any of those anymore.
Okay. Are any more questions? We have plenty of time for questions. While we wait for the possibility of another question, let me again thank you both for spending time with us.
No problem.
I know you're busy, and I know you're probably winding down there in London.
Well, I'm thinking about going home soon.
We're just thinking about lunchtime here.
Oh, very nice.
And
I
thank
have
you
soup for
to
lunch.
all
It's
of
good.
our audience.
Yeah, so it looks like we're wrapping up with no more questions, and I do, to Stella's point, thank you to the audience for taking time out of your busy day. Hope this was valuable, and as you can see, there's more to come, so subscribe, and we have quite a few things planned in the near term, and love to spend more time with you. And again, thank you, Tanya, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, everyone. Hope it was informative, and you have an exciting time ahead of you.
Yes, and thank you, Estella.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a great rest of your day.